Hi, everybody. Welcome to the It Couple podcast.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a really hilarious guest.
A buddy of mine, you know him from the You Up podcast, from the J Train podcast, and check his stand-up. It's hilarious. It's on Instagram. Jared Freid, everybody.
Woo! Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here.
Thank you. You were tan.
I was out in the sun the other day. I tan pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're Italian.
I get out there. No, Italian,
Jewish,
but we just, my dad looks like, like a baseball mitt. Like he's pretty much tan all year round.
Baby oil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everywhere.
He's oiling.
Yeah.
He's no fear of cancer whatsoever. No, I love watching. Someone going. I go into host mode when I go on a show. Just watching.
I just did too.
Yeah, you did,
too.
and your face was like, oh, this is a different person. This is my host husband.
It's true.
Yeah, and I watched it all happen.
If I actually said hi to somebody that way, they would think I was psychotic. Hi, I'm Dan. You may know me from Cohen, and
I had a girl over, and we
humble brag.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, touch my penis. So I had a girl over, and I said we were having a good time, whatever, and we were like walking, and then I was on my phone. I got like a message. Can you send a video to my friend saying happy birthday? And I was like,
what?
Yeah, no problem. Like whatever.
Yeah,
so I go, do you mind? I'm gonna do this one thing. And I was like, hey, it's Jared Freid, the Wizard of Oz, the Sultan of Scream, the Board Lord. And I just watched any wetness she had just left her body. Just,
did you ever hook up after that?
After that, she was like, I gotta go.
Bone dry. Yeah.
Like I just watched the clown put on makeup. Like it was just total turn off.
Watch the clown put on makeup.
Right, it was just like all the illusion was gone. Like, people want you to wish them a happy birthday? Oh yeah, go for it. Hey!
She's like, the only reason I'm wet is from the flower that was on your lapel.
It was just such a, and I didn't, you don't realize until once you see that face turn. I was just watching the ick pass through her body, and I was just like, oh man, I go, I'm not like that, but then I am.
But you are.
That's me. That's me more times than I'm not. I'm on stage more at this point because of podcasts and all this shit and Instagram stories. Hey, come to the show tonight. Like you can't just go on and be like, please God. Like I wish that was my character.
I actually do that half the time, and look at my following. So
right. Look at where we live, and you're in Manhattan.
Yeah. That's right.
And we're
I
in
did
another
have to drive
borough.
40 minutes here.
By the way, we will pay for your Uber.
We're right near the Uber. We'll pay for that Uber.
We are review. Well, Jared told me he's not a horror fan, so I was like, "Well, we're recording this around July 4th.
Can I ask why you're not a horror? I just think that it's a very
already putting him.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing.
I've come to terms with this. I'm not into anything. I just have no hobbies. Like there was a guy.
You like sports? No,
I like
you
sports.
like sports.
Even sports, I've kind of removed myself to.
You don't talk to me about sports as much anymore.
Storylines. I like storylines. Like my brother works in the NFL, so he works for a team. Wow. So I've kind of that whole I'm from Boston. I like the Boston teams. And my parents moved to Florida, so I kind of lost that I guess naivete that you get with we're fighting for Boston.
Especially because you guys have been fucking killing it for the last
right. It became
20 years.
Tiring. You win that much. It's almost like having a son who's an Olympian. You go,
right.
Oh, how was quarters? How was sectionals? It's like who the fuck cares about sectionals? So I've kind of with sports I'm reality TV I like. I feel like I just need more hobbies. I wish I had something that would keep me off.
What's your favorite
my
reality?
phone.
I know you're on the you do a lot of stuff with The Bachelor, but what's your favorite reality show?
Right
I really do like The Bachelor. I think the concept, and I also like the arc of it. I like that there's a beginning, middle, and end. Everyone's Love Island crazy right now. 60 episodes. That's my life at that point. I can't.
No, you can't
do that.
It's a full-time job.
That's a full-time job. I can't watch it and get into it. I've really gotten into it. This is actually strange. Marvel stuff. I've really loving. But
you're
Marvel
not a comic
stuff.
book guy.
Not a comic book guy. So I kind of feel like I'm in a world. I've co-opted a world a little bit.
Yeah.
I've watched every one of the movies, all the TV shows. I like looking up theories and all that stuff. And I'm just I think that world's fun just to know that there's a whole thing that I don't know about.
It's probably an escape for you to get involved in something that you really don't have any knowledge about if you weren't reading comic books and you weren't going to Comic-Con or any of this shit. And you're like, oh, this is just pretty cool. I do have a question about Love Island is something we haven't gotten into. Temptation Island, into it or no?
I remember watching the original. That's the thing. Growing up, I watched every reality show. Like there wasn't one.
Because there were like 3 on at the time. It was like Joe Millionaire.
Temptation Island.
Was like gross on Fox. Though.
This Surreal Life.
I watched all of that stuff. Every single episode.
Yeah.
Like I know about them all. Like the Joe Millionaire. They did a reboot of Joe Millionaire.
Yeah, I saw that.
With 2 guys. And then like that I kind of like dipped into
Wasn't
also.
one a real millionaire?
They were. One was a real millionaire and one was not. And you just watch these women. And I remember the first episode, there was one woman who was like, wait a minute, I recognize him from Hinge. And like they had to like usher her out of the show. Like they removed her, you know? So I don't know. I just like, I do like that whole idea of like you're punking someone, but also like you get to watch people have these like real moments. Like I watch Pimple Popper. Like I love Pimple Popper.
He loves Pimple Popper.
I have been into zip popping videos since before Instagram was a thing. Like we're talking like 10, 15 years. You would just randomly go on YouTube and just find like the biggest cyst. And at the time there were maybe only like 5 and I would show people and they would be horrified. And then now there's a community, of people, just TV show. I'm like, oh my God,
it's very therapeutic.
We're all
it's satisfying. There is a satisfaction of like, you see that thing come out of them. And like, also like, it just makes you like, if you think of like Pimple Popper, like they legit, like these are like outpatient $50 surgeries. Like you're like, oh, these people are like, like that's like your life has to be in trouble. Yeah. That you can't get like the balls removed from your ears because you tried to like give yourself earrings one time. Like,
no, it's true.
So it's like this weird like referendum on like what we got like the the health sector, and you're like it does say a lot. And I watch. I guess all reality TV is like my thing. I like Undercover Boss. I think is hilarious.
So fucking funny.
Every food show I watch every like Matt Richards.
Do you watch the TLC ones though, or are those too depressing?
Like Bar Rescue.
I love Bar Rescue.
Bar Rescue.
It's like Fat or the Freak
people?
and them.
No, I've watched 600 Pound Life.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I kind of
like Hoarders. It's too
right.
It's too close to home.
Yeah, don't go in that bedroom. It is I'm like took all the shit from the house. And also our bed broke.
Yeah, I stopped watching my 600 Pound Life when like I remember I watched one of them eat and I was like, that's not too dissimilar from a lunch I had a couple days ago. So
it's
I'm
actually
not gonna watch this
when they're like,
today.
When they cook in bed, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like when you start cooking, when you have a hot plate in bed, you go, okay. And there's like mirrors set up to like they can watch what's going on in the other room, like and be a part of the action. You go, maybe I shouldn't be here.
Definitely
anymore.
not a mirror above the bed though. Nobody wants to see.
No.
That's the opposite of fucking.
No.
But today we are talking about Jason Harman, so we made him watch one of my favorite bad horror movies, Uncle Sam, directed by William Lustig, written by Larry Cohen. I'll just go through the cast real quick. Uncle Sam, a.k.a. Master Sergeant Sam Harper, is played by David Fralick, who has Job's voice from Arrested Development.
Oh, he does.
The whole time.
Little Will Arnett. Mm-hmm.
Jodie Baker, who's the little boy, Christopher Ogden, Sally Baker, Leslie Neal, Jed Crowley, Isaac Hayes, Louise Harper, Annie Tremco, Donald Crandall, Timothy Bottoms, Deputy Phil Burke, Matt Flint, Blind Barry, we'll just call him, Zachary Macklemore, Ralph Tim Grimm, Sergeant Twinnings, Bo Hopkins, but probably the most fascinating role, Robert Forster's in this movie. He's the congressman, Alvin Cummings.
He's in one scene.
He's in 2 scenes, and he was nominated for an Oscar a year later for Jackie Brown. So his career did a full fucking 180 during this time, where he went from Uncle Sam to a Tarantino movie.
So he's the guy being like, should I put on the glasses on or off? That's the guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
And he's the best actor in it, if you like watch how he delivers the lines.
Wow.
And he worked one day.
One day, come on in here. We got you.
Yeah.
Food, pay, get out of here.
Yeah.
Car service.
I mean, the
door-to-door
Right.
transpo. Yeah.
I thought this sucked, and it was just like when I was a kid, I was like one of the first movies I watched high, like in 8th grade or 9th grade.
You got high in 8th grade.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were with a cool dude?
Yeah. A real stand-up guy over here.
All right, that's enough.
Go on.
But it's got 60% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is shockingly high for this movie.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm still confused. I wasn't sure. I like honestly like all of a sudden I'm like, I know he's the nephew because Uncle Sam, like that's like the big. It just felt like they had like, oh, there's an Uncle Sam. This works in like a million different ways. That's his uncle. He's in the gut. You know, he's at war. It's 4th of July. His name's Sam. Two ways. Yeah.
Right. His body comes back on July 4th. Right. Like around that time.
It just kind of felt like that was like how the movie was made. Like they were just like, Uncle Sam, you know, like,
and he's this kid's uncle,
right?
And it's gonna,
But then it was like, then they made the wife of Uncle Sam look so much like his mom that I was so confused.
Thank you. That is like, as a casting director, from a casting perspective, that is just like too close. That's too close.
They're the same person to me.
We thought it. I'm like, wait, which blonde? And it wasn't until like they turned and one of them had a necklace, and that's the only way you could differentiate. I'm like, oh, she's wearing that. Okay, so that's I still don't know which one had the necklace. Like you're very confused the whole time. They're good though. I will say the acting isn't as bad as the movie is.
All the good reviews of this movie I looked up, they're very much. Like, do you remember The Simpsons? Were you a Simpsons fan, Jared?
I like Simpsons, yeah.
Okay, do you remember when Homer is working for the Quickie Mart for one episode?
Okay, yeah.
And the whole running joke is he's a horrible employee, and Apu would go like, he was late, he fell asleep at work, but he was the best damn employee I ever had. and that's what all the reviews are. Like, this is Dread Central. It goes, way underrated slasher Vic. Okay, so that's a good review. That does a fine job of bringing the pain while we celebrate our independence. Fine. And then it ends with, even though it kind of plods along and none of it really makes too much sense. Well, it's just like
that's the thing. Like, I was like, okay. In the beginning, I'm watching this going, wow, whoever wrote this is like probably the most annoying person to ever have to talk to.
Dude, Larry Cohen, he wrote Maniac Cop. This guy had a long-ass career.
He did? Okay, well, does he hate America or love America?
To find out who did he vote for? Let me look it up.
I'm trying to figure.
He used to write, he wrote on The Fugitive, the old TV show. Like,
well, the whole time I'm going, you know, it's like, okay, he's going to, you know, Uncle Sam ends up killing the kids who burn the flag. And then he kills the boyfriend who's cheating people out of taxes. Like, I don't know if he like believes in paying taxes or not. Like, I didn't know where he stood, because in the beginning I was like, oh, this is someone trying to be smarter than everyone else by being like, look what the country does to people.
Right.
And I thought it was going to be like more on that, and then it goes into just wacky guy kills everyone.
He just kills some girl for smoking weed. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God, that poor girl smoking weed.
She gets killed brutally.
Right.
And it's like just weed. You would have been dead in 8th grade.
I would have been
Uncle
dead.
Sam came back.
Well, we start out in Kuwait.
Also the Kuwait thing, like I was like, oh, what social commentary is this on, like, you know, the Kuwait?
Well, it's right after the first Desert Storm.
Right, that's what I figured.
Which, like, only like 30 Americans were killed, so it's also like...
Well, Uncle Sam was one of them. Friendly fire.
Really, friendly fire. And it also felt like they learned the term, like maybe friendly fire was in the news.
Yes.
And they were like, okay, we got something here. Because friendly fire is referenced a lot.
All the time.
And then we learn about it.
Especially the first time he says it, he goes, friendly fire.
Oh, that guy's the best, yeah.
After he shoots and kills the one guy.
It was almost like a pop culture joke at the time, the way he said it.
He sounds like, Uncle Sam sounds like the hormone monster in Big Mouth, if you've seen that. The whole fucking movie. It's just, but we open where he ends up killing, because they don't have a kill until like 45 minutes, so they have to start out with a kill, where they kill everybody. He kills some other army guys who I thought it was about, they covered up friendly fire. They covered up fucking these guys up. That's not what this movie's about at all.
That's what was so confusing, because it starts in like you see like the army general, and he's doing like classic army general. He's like,
God damn it.
God damn. Yeah, he's got the gravelly voice.
And like a cigar for no reason.
Don't mention this to anybody. This is a need-to-know basis.
Right, and then he dies right away, and you go, okay, I guess problem solved. You know, like I don't know.
So now we're moving forward. Like, I don't know.
We open up this kid, the kid who's Jody Sucks, the kid who plays Jody Sucks.
What a wet.
He's
annoying.
He's like really into the military, and he's
like the kid who didn't get the problem child part.
Yeah,
yes, because he just wasn't fun enough.
Right,
you know, they're like, you could be an Uncle Sam.
There's also no continuity in this movie between the first like third of the movie between daylight and night. Like it's sometimes it's morning, sometimes it's night, sometimes it's afternoon. It doesn't fucking
There's
matter.
also no continuity when he goes to get the strong box that has all of the metals in it. It starts like a pretty normal size and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like in Scary Movie when she has
with the hat.
It just gets bigger. Cameron Manheim. But it's ridiculous.
Also, to go back to Kuwait, I've done shows in Kuwait, and this kind of shows you that 90s.
God, I'd be nervous to be like a Jewish comic going over to.
Well, that's the thing.
Kuwait.
I'd be nervous to be anyone going over to Kuwait.
That was the thing.
Now.
Kuwait is like this, like
that's double
it's just
American
like
Jewish. That's a double doozy for those guys.
Well, they were like,
I'm sorry.
Spaventa, get rid of that part.
Is this news to people?
It's
been the cover of the New York fucking Times for 40 years.
Well, this was my whole thing with Kuwait. Is like when I went, I was like, oh, this is like a beautiful, like rich place. Like,
oh yeah, it is.
You know,
for sure.
they all have money. They all
like
get
a Dubai.
stipend. It's a very Dubai-ish, and they have like just like anyone. If you're Kuwaiti, you just are a millionaire, whatever. And then it's just our bases. Like that's the whole country, and you can't drink. And I just remember like when I saw the opening of this, is like the idea in like the 90s of like we're in Kuwait. It's like, oh shit! And now I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, it's just like a nice place.
Yeah, it's a Chanel right over here, and
it's like
there's
a poor
Ritz.
man's Dubai or something. But we start off, you know, like this kid slips on glass. So when he steps on glass in his room, I'm like, oh, is that the? It's like usually there's like some moment in a horror movie where it's the blood sacrifice moment or the opening of the totem.
Well, because it's a photo of the Uncle Sam.
Yeah, and then that'll bring back. But no, they never follow up with that.
Right. These are going to be my questions for you guys as the it couple. This felt like there were a lot of trope things going on. Like the idea of like coming back to life. I thought the kid who's blind, is that like a big horror thing?
Oh, that's the omniscient.
That's like a Greek.
Yeah, I mean it is the Greek thing.
Okay.
Where there's where's the one who can't see can always see.
With a T, right? Is that what it's something with the T?
But here's the thing that doesn't make any sense: is this kid has only been blind for a year, and he shows up about halfway through the movie, and his whole point was that he was blinded by the fireworks the time before that. But for some reason, not only did it blind him, it made him all-knowing in the sense that he's able to predict what's happening.
Because I think his senses within the 12 months have gotten pretty elevated, that he can hear things and respond to things.
Plus his mom is the worst human on earth.
The most annoying fucking woman.
I don't know what the point of making her so hateable was. Like
worst.
Her whole point of going to the fair is they're going to feel badly from looking at you. We're going to bring you to the fair so that they can see what the mess they made. And then they will feel so badly that they'll have to deal with that the rest of their lives.
Oh, my God.
That was her whole... And she says that to the kid who's blinded by the fireworks.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The kid who can't see anymore. She's wasting everybody's energy and time, bringing him to show him off as like a look what you did here.
Right.
And of course, Jory, what the fuck is the kid's name? Jody
is the kid's name.
Jody is like the only kid that was nice to him.
Right.
So then they're sort of like friendly.
And he comes over, he's like, I wasn't there. And you're like, how did this not get spelled out earlier in the movie?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Well, the movie changes movies like 4 times.
Well, it's a different movie within a movie every single
That should have been the
scene.
opening. The opening should have been this kid getting fucked up. Then we go to Kuwait.
Yep.
Then we come back. There was some orders of operations going on.
Yeah.
Something went awry in the editing.
I think all the money went to
they're
Isaac
just-
Hayes or something.
Well, or the...
But the guys are all the actors in this, not the women, but the male actors in this are all working. I've noticed, like Timothy Bottoms, they're all like working, like they did because it's a $2 million budget.
You mean
you mean they have
jobs?
Where was this money? Yeah, like they actually
and
work
the women
as
are
actors.
just useless.
So I think they have like paid actors on this.
Is that they usually don't? Is that something?
No, they pay them shit.
No, but I feel like a movie like this, you would get someone who would work for scale maybe, but like these are actually like pretty. That's one thing when I was watching it, I'm like, God, I want to hate this mom so much, but she's really not that bad. Because sometimes you watch these and you're like, oh, they're all so fucking
Troll
terrible.
2, it's like people who've never acted again.
No,
really?
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even know.
Still,
they like look in the camera and
working.
say their lines, and like, you know what I mean? Like they do not understand anything. But in this movie, I felt like, and Isaac Hayes is really chewing the scenery, but when is he not? You know what I mean? Like when is that man ever playing it subtle?
Isaac Hayes says some things to the kid that you're like, I can't believe you speak to a kid this way. He has speeches to the kids that you're like,
he talks about
right?
We'll talk. What happens is they bring Uncle Sam's body back.
Into the home. It sits in the fucking dining room.
It's a weird choice.
It's a weird choice. I'm like, are there no funeral homes in this town?
By this like lascivious, lecherous military guy who's trying to fuck both moms
and sister.
That was the thing where they have the dinner with the kid, and he's like, "You'd respect me more if you showed me some affection."
The boyfriend,
boyfriend, and then and then she goes, "Not in front of the body," and you're like, "So you do know there's a dead? It's weird that the dead body's in the house,
right?" The brothers right there. This was also the movie. Was this the one where they kept telling everyone to whip it out? And like, I'm like, are they just talking about their dicks this whole time with this little boy? Was that this movie, or was there another movie?
I think this is
was that the
childhood memory that you're processing now.
I don't have that memory of this
Gulf
movie.
War 90, yes, whip it out.
But essentially, they bring Uncle Sam back, and the whole thing is the kid thinks Uncle Sam is a hero. He's telling off the teacher at school who's a beatnik for not supporting the war.
I felt for the teacher at school.
Yeah.
Because he seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Seemed like he just wanted to be a teacher. And they're like, "Did you go to war?" And he's like, well, he weirdly thinks about it. He's like not sure
like,
if he went to war.
Should I lie to this kid or not?
Yeah. And then they go, "Well, why didn't you go?" He's like, "Some people disagreed with the war." And you're like, and you're just waiting for one of the kids to call him a pussy. Like you're just waiting for like the way he says it is just not strong enough.
Right.
Like, and you're like, oh, I don't know. And then I wasn't sure if he was the hero of the movie. Like at that point, I'm still wondering, is this guy gonna be like,
nope.
No.
No.
And it's also like when they introduce the sister, who's the mom's twin. I don't know why they just don't call themselves twin sisters at that point. So the Uncle Sam's ex, you come to find out like there was some weird shit amongst them. Like, so Uncle Sam's a bad guy, but don't we kind of see that in Kuwait when isn't he like smoking a cigarette or something?
Well, no,
before
he shoots
dies?
two
He shoots to, but from the dead. We never really
Then he goes back
established.
to being dead.
Oh, but then he dies.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
No, there's no rules over when he's dead and when he's alive, and I think that's confusing too. No, they're
Really, this is the worst.
There really isn't, because sometimes he's a
sorry
cadaver.
we made you
There's
watch.
there's no point, like there's no ritual where they bring him back. There's usually something to explain, and at this point, like, so he eventually just gets up from sleep. He murders these kids in a graveyard who are pissing on his eventual grave.
Right.
Not his grave now.
They dug a grave for him, but haven't put him in it. And there's fireworks and an American flag that they've lit on fire. And
it was pretty weird how evil they make people. Like, Mr. Cohen's, faith in society seemed to be really broken.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because he's got the kids who pee on graves and burn the American flag for no apparent reason.
No reason.
You have the guy from the government who's delivering the body, whose whole reason for delivering bodies to the dead, to the families, is that he might fuck their wives or sisters.
Right.
That's something he says. And then there's the boyfriend who's like, show me some respect, and wants to fuck in front of the kid.
Yes.
There's
the deputy's all right. The
deputy seems to be, but then he takes the weed from the girl and he puts it in his pocket.
Yeah.
He's smoking
Isn't he
weed.
fucking the wife?
Everyone kind of sucks.
The widow? Isn't he having sex with her?
Yes, he's having sex with the widow.
Yeah, everyone's fucking in this
Everyone's
town.
fucking in this movie. Everyone's a horrible person.
Yeah.
The guy who, one of the kids who peed on the grave, he does the sack race. The way he does the sack race is the most evil thing of them all, just throwing people to the ground.
Body checks these kids.
Right. Like, it's just like there's not one redeemable character except Isaac Hayes. Like, Isaac Hayes seems to be the only one that they're like is a good guy. Even
even then, he's not that
the
great.
mom and the sister, because you find out they were abused.
Right.
That's
Uncle
why they're
Sam.
such pains
Isaac
in the
Hayes
asses.
comes to the house to like see the body and pay respects, but he's like, oh, I feel so bad that I said war was cool. Even though there's no reason that we don't give a reason of why he doesn't think war is cool, because he said war was cool after he got his leg blown off. So we don't know why he becomes anti-war, but he does bring up the fact, he's like, to the kid outside, which is very bizarre.
The blind
He's
kid.
like, hey, no, not blind kid,
Oh,
Jody.
Jody.
He's outside with Jody, like, during this, and he goes, hey, you shouldn't like war. Sam was evil. He like, just, like, killed him. And also, my dick works.
Is that what he
I'm
said?
telling
Yeah,
you.
he goes, my dick works. I know people think my dick doesn't work because my leg was blown off, but it works, all right? I don't know what you heard.
I think that was an Isaac Hayes.
That was
He's like, I will not be in this movie if people think I can't fuck. Like, there's a Snoop Dogg ad where Snoop Dogg was the face of erectile dysfunction hymns, and
of course.
he's on the commercial where he literally goes, erectile dysfunction is a big problem for a lot of people, not for me. But for a lot of people,
I
and you're
don't have
like,
anything else like, hey, leukemia is devastating. I mean, I don't have that shit. Fuck that.
like I just imagine Snoop at the negotiation table, like, yeah, I'll take the $1 million, but I'm not saying I gotta be able to say,
Yeah, he needs to
in our
approve the
30-second spot that I don't have erectile dysfunction issues.
The first 3 words out of every Snoop Dogg call is him going, I'll take it.
right.
Yeah. How much?
I think that's what
How
happened.
much? I'll take it.
I'll take it.
How much? I'll take it. And then, whoa. People are going to think I might have an issue downstairs. We got to rewrite this.
Yeah.
And that was a renegotiation. And I think Isaac Hayes was probably like, listen, I got to let people know.
Yeah.
I got a wooden leg. But
A wooden leg, but not a wooden dick. Well,
Right.
a wooden dick, yes, actually. He does have a wooden dick.
It's the next day. It's the big July 4th parade, which I have seen the worst. I was in Yellowstone National Park working the worst July 4th parade I ever. It's like, it's the July 4th. And we look out, and there's all these like drunken moonshiners who can only do seasonal work because they're only employable for a season of the year.
That's all you can get out of those drunks.
And like the lead of the parade, it wasn't Uncle Sam, it was just a guy in a fucking stormtrooper mask. He painted red, white, and blue, holding a sparkler. It was the saddest parade ever. But in this one,
That's
Uncle,
actually surprising.
That's the one you were at?
yes, that's what I was at.
Because it sounds a lot like this one.
Well,
Right.
no, he's
There were like
dressed
4
as Uncle
people
Sam.
on a float, and then just shots of someone's actual hometown.
this is to me, this was the most believable part of the movie because have you ever been to like a small town 4th of July thing? Like,
Yeah.
you know, they do it.
Yeah,
Like
that
I
was-
used to go to Maine growing up. There would be
Yeah, yeah.
Maine. There would be like a small town, one street. And you'd be like, I now I'm seeing pictures of my friends with their kids. Like this whole week, I saw like little kids with the flag, and I'm like, oh, this was like a thing we don't remember from childhood that like happens in every
Yeah.
town.
Yes.
Like every small whatever suburb that was out there did their little like thing with the fire truck,
Yeah.
spraying the hose for 5 seconds, and you're like, oh, this. You know, it is funny that like this movie does make you think of like the 90s childhood in a way you're like, oh, this was kind of nice.
It wasn't
Other
bad.
than Uncle Sam brutally murdering
Right.
everybody.
And then
Yeah.
those 3 kids, the mean kids, beating everyone up and burning flags, and also spray painting gravestones,
Yeah,
which
well-
I'm like, okay.
I should be I'd be remiss if I didn't say that he gets the Uncle Sam costume because there's a peeping Tom trying to check out a naked chick, and he's on stilts. Which, look, if you're going to be a sexual predator, leave the stilts. You know what I mean?
Can't get very far.
We don't hear a story about a meeting in Miramax, and then Harvey Weinstein comes out of the bathroom with stilts.
It was a very weird scene because it was incredibly long. It was like, we need to have this set piece. Like,
Yeah.
we
Right.
need the stilts. We need the peeping Tom. We don't even know who that was. It's
No.
just
He
another
kills
bad
him.
person.
He
Kills
kills
him and
him.
takes the mask. And again, another Carl Havoc. It's just another weird
Yeah.
prosthetic mask that
Right.
he puts on.
Well, and apparently the blooper reel is just that guy in stilts falling a bunch, and the crew being like,
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Ugh, I wish I watched that instead.
They were incredibly tall stilts. Like,
Yeah.
I remember seeing that scene and going, oh, this must be the tax accountant boyfriend.
right.
That was my first thought.
Being a creep.
Being a creep.
Nope.
And I was like, no, it's just another creep.
Another
This
guy.
whole
Right.
town is full of creeps, perverts, and widows. Like, that's it.
Right. I really think I kept thinking of the writer of this movie, and I was like, this person hates like America, men, capitalism, war. Like
it's-
he
it's
hates
almost like
But he
everything.
also hates people who are against war.
Right,
Like,
right.
It's like, where do
Where
you
do you
stand,
It's
sir?
a horror movie set in like a 70s comedy town. You know, because everyone's
Right.
like perving out and being a piece of shit. And there's like, he goes on this killing rampage. He shoots the sister's boyfriend with a gun as Lincoln. He kills the teacher with a hatchet. He, ends up impaling the one boy for the guy who's fucking his wife. He sets on fire the congressman. Plays on Robert Forster. One of the funniest things though is he grabs one of the water. I guess he grabs like one of the guns or a BB gun to kill. He
was really good at the game.
Yeah, he was really
The guy,
good at
the guy
game.
says, you should be a postman
Also,
with
that
this
guy's like
shot.
a Queen's accent. It's the only guy like from New York that's in this movie. It's also like I also noticed like we always do this like we're like okay, there's like all right. Well, usually like there's not a lot of black people in white horror movies. This one there's like not one Jewish person.
Not a lot
in
of
this-
Jews. I did notice Isaac Hayes being the single black guy in the whole movie. I was wondering, is this another trope where the black guy's either killed first, which I've heard that before,
or survives
he's
the
the
hero.
biggest hero that's ever come to
It's
Earth.
the magical Negro thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
trope.
But he is
You
the
ever heard of
only
that?
person.
No.
That's like
That's a real-
you know, like Legend of Bagger Vance, like
Okay.
Will Smith in it is like you know, like trying to think of like other people that
Is that
would.
the proper term, though?
Yes, it is.
'Cause you
Right,
did
I
just-
wasn't
No,
sure.
it's- no, it is.
Is that
It's just-
allowable to say? Am I
Are we
allowed
gonna
to
have
be
to
in the
cut
same
that,
room?
Spaventa?
Do I have to leave here
No,
right
that's
now?
A magical Negro.
That's a trope.
No, it's a trope. It's a trope.
Okay.
So he is.
Okay.
He's the
I'll
magical
believe
Negro
it if
whose
someone
dick
says
still
no.
works.
I didn't agree with
Yeah.
We'll take it out.
We're not going to get canceled for that.
No.
I hope. But yeah, so he goes nuts. Finally, this kid, you know, through listening to his mom and his mom realizing that Uncle Sam sexually assaulted her, which I'm like, well, so is Uncle Sam
Well,
the dad? Is that the big reveal?
Did he sexually assault her or
Yeah,
just
he
beat the
infers
shit
it.
out of her? I thought.
The way she explained it was very sexual assault-y.
Okay.
As far as to me, I
Yeah.
was watching
Yeah.
that going, yeah, this guy really messed up the whole family.
Yeah.
And then she said the best day of my life was when he moved in with you to the wife, and you're like,
She's like, I'm so sorry.
my bad.
Yeah, sorry.
It wasn't really given enough time of her apologizing for being excited that someone new to take the brunt of
You know,
Uncle
though,
Sam's.
I bet that happens more than you.
I
I bet like when Sandusky was around, the next kid he goes, it's like, oh, get another kid from this foundation, give me a break for a weekend, you know.
Oh my God.
Anyway, sorry, what? I'm just having fun. Sorry. So he kills the potty, he puts her head face into a grill and all that shit, and it sets up for this climax where they go back to the house. They realize that his body has been replaced with the pervy general's body, so he did kill him off screen. Which again, the worst people that die off screen.
I know, which is so sad because I would have loved to have seen what he did with that man.
Right, what he
We
did
don't
with
get to
that
see
man.
enough.
The pervy general was like the most horrific of all the people on this movie. Like,
So I'm
Yeah.
like, did he have the most horrific death? Like what?
Right.
And
Because
the most
remember the kid.
believable.
Now was the kid who sang the national anthem poorly, might I add,
On
making a
purpose.
mockery of it? Is he
Made
the
a
one that was
mockery of
in
the national anthem.
national-
Pulled the Roseanne.
Was he the one who was in and a Fergie? Was he the one that was in the potato sack race?
Yes.
Or was that the other one?
That guy was like the lead bully of the peeing on
Yeah.
the graves.
He was the blonde kid.
They just gave so much time to things that I'm like, like the stilts guy, we didn't need that literal 10-minute scene.
Yeah.
It could have been spent on how'd you kill the general who we really want to die.
Right, or the mom's boyfriend who's dressed like Lincoln. We would also like to know how he was
Right.
killed.
Also, again, like I don't sexual predators. They do not use stilts. Like you never hear about a guy like assaulting a girl and then escaping on a pogo
He was
stick. Like it's
he was a peeping Tom.
he was
That
a
peeping Tom thing though, like it was almost like nostalgic. Like
Yeah.
you don't hear of that.
No, or
type
flashers.
Of,
You
How are you
right.
gonna
just
rub
see
one
it-
out on stilts?
Have you ever seen like we had a town flasher in like the
Really?
late '80s, and my sister worked at Photomat. Remember those? There was like a booth in the middle of a
It was
parking
actually your
lot.
dad. Yeah.
It was my dad. Dinner's ready. And this guy was going up to all these cars, and like women were grocery shopping and just flashing them. And I guess he like might have gone up to my sister, and she told him, I don't know what happened, but I think she put like the close sign down so she didn't have to look at him, and then called the cops, and he got arrested. But then a week later, he was back flashing everyone. So she's
The
like,
worst is,
all
like-
right, his dick is out. Like, I guess we have a
He looks in the
flasher
car.
now."
He looks through. He goes, nah.
Yeah.
And he walks off to the next one. He goes,
He's
Even
like,
I have
"Eh."
some. You
Go
know.
to the next customer. Yeah.
But yeah, we had a flasher. The peeping Tom stuff is
Peeping Tom, Flasher, these are all just like nostalgic creeps.
They don't
like
exist
now
anymore.
it's like so much more
Well, now it's all
Yeah.
internet perverts.
horrific.
Yeah.
Like you think of like the internet, like it just
Back
adds
then,
kerosene.
perverts had like
Yeah.
Benny Hill theme music in the background.
Yeah,
you know?
they were wacky.
They were wacky.
Yeah.
So the blind kid who's omniscient, they're like, well, where's Uncle Sam now? And he's like, where would you be? Trying to get my wife back. You know, like,
Right.
Yeah.
he knows where this Uncle Sam is.
He's also the coolest person in the whole movie.
Well,
like
he's wearing
he
cool
plays
guys. He's
it.
wearing Huey Lewis glasses.
He's wearing Tom Cruise in Risky Business. You're right.
Right. How does
here,
this 10-year-old
Seth
know the workings of an adult relationship in a way where he's like, if I were him, I'd be getting my wife back. You
Yeah.
know, like it's just such a weird turn for this kid to have a knowledge of. You know,
This is
like,
after his parents also abandon him.
Right.
In the middle of every like fireworks killing the mayor or the congressman and people
Yeah.
being stabbed and the shithead mom being carried off by the dad.
carried away. Also, yeah, the need to have this 4th of July event
Mm-hmm.
by the mayor, and then Robert Forster is kind of crazy. Like that they imagine two people they find the accountant, he's shot. They find the kid with his head chopped off, and they go, let's just finish the event. Like I can't.
We already paid for the band.
It's produced by Vince McMahon.
It's like Jaws. It's like how we were watching Jaws the other night, and he's like, "We're just going to close the beaches for 24 hours." And it's like people's bodies. A child was attacked in front of people, but like in this case, it's probably more of like.
We got one day to shoot this.
Let's get it done.
That's what it is. We got one day to shoot this.
This
keep
is our budget.
Rolling.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Keep walking in the background. We'll get some B-roll.
They end up going to the ex, the Uncle Sam's ex or wife or mourning widow or whatever the fuck you want to call her. They go to her house. Isaac Hayes tries to call the police, but Uncle Sam's there. He throws him around. They then get the idea of, let's use the cannon, because Isaac Hayes was using the cannon in the parade. Let's use it to kill Uncle Sam, Chekhov's cannon. And even though it's impossible for those antique balls to blow up, but whatever. The kid...
Well, when he first did the cannon, I was sitting there being like, wait a minute, he just shot it off, didn't warn anybody, didn't go in like a field.
He didn't even go like this.
Right, no covering of the ears. It was just like a shot of cannon. And you're like... What's going on? Like, in what world can you just like fire it off and no one's like like
it's
or
called
something?
Tampa, Jared. It's called Tampa. But we were at the we're at the second. The kid kind of like convinces Uncle Sam that he's with him. And walks
Jody. I want to keep calling him Jordy.
He walks him like hand in hand out of the house. So this kid is the only one. Uncle Sam likes kids. He likes kids. That's about it.
Hold on, but we got to go back to one thing with the kids.
Jared also hasn't seen the last 10 minutes. This movie just gave up, so we're like letting him know.
Now I'm like, whoa, what happened?
I have questions.
Right. Well, when Uncle Sam touches the blind kid's face, that is the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is creepy. It's
with no like acknowledgement of how weird this is. He grabs his face and then he goes, and then the kid later on goes, he touched me.
Yeah.
And no one's like, well, what?
Where? No one says where.
Well, this guy's crazy enough to murder.
Uncle Sam's sister were like, hey, you got off easy, kid. Glad you couldn't see it.
Right. It was just so bizarre. Just no second question.
Nope.
Where would have been a good...
not a where.
This movie's a piece of shit. It's not good.
It's pretty bad.
I think the thing is like we said earlier, it's just so many different plot points that either are never resolved or they're resolved off screen but never explained. And you're like, well, was she molested by her brother? Is this You thought Jody was the son of Uncle Sam. You thought it was some weird incestuous.
That was going to be the big reveal.
Which, by the way, it could have been. Who knows?
Daddy Sam. Uncle Sam based off a patriot, apparently, in 1812, who was a meat packer for the troops.
Oh, that's who the actual Uncle Sam.
That was the actual Uncle Sam, and then the cartoon came around in World War I. It was trying to get people to...
I want you.
Yeah, I want to try to people to jump into World War I. And I always thought Uncle Sam was terrifying, so I think that's why this has as much of a cult following as it does. Because I was like going on Instagram and I follow a lot of horror accounts, and there was a lot of Uncle Sam posting. I was like kind of surprised, but at the very end of it, they kill Uncle Sam with cannonballs. They do a jump cut, and it's hilarious because like Isaac Hayes and the blind kid are going, yeah, all right, like it changes into this like 80s like almost
buddy
like one
comedy,
like One Crazy Summer,
like we're gonna win the race.
Bobcat and John Cusack are in the corner, and they finish it, and the very last scene is he's burning all of his like military comic books. The kid becomes anti-military, but then they do like a freeze frame on the kid where it's like, is he creepy and crazy? What happens next? Does he become a hippie, a killer? Does he host a show on Gas Digital? Nobody knows.
Does he storm the Capitol?
Does he storm the Capitol?
He definitely stormed the Capitol.
What's next?
Well, that was the thing. Was like we're sitting here being like, it's almost like you don't want a movie to go in a direction you already know it's going in, but we do want to know it's going in a direction that's somewhat linear. Right. Like this starts in Kuwait, and you're like, I guess we're gonna have this like anti-whatever, and it's like now he's a monster, but he's not a monster. We don't know how he became this monster.
This movie keeps you on your toes by not telling a story.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's kind of like choose your own adventure. You're like, oh, well, I think.
But then you choose,
this would-
and you're like,
and
it's
then
a blank
wrong.
page.
Right. Like the blind kid literally shows up midway through and they go, oh, last year he got blinded.
Right.
Like, and you go, well, by who? And then he goes, and then the kid's like, I wasn't involved. So you're like, okay, I guess Jordy or Jody is still a good kid. And
So what a weird thing to do if you're like. It's like
Bring him
it's
back
like,
to the
okay, let's
scene
say
of the
you
crime.
escape. Well, you escape the World Trade Center to celebrate. You go to the Sears Tower next year.
Right.
It doesn't make any
well,
sense.
that's
at
how
all.
you know therapy wasn't really a thing then.
No.
You know, like
96, 97. Not in that town.
Not in that town.
Was
because
this 96?
This was 97. It came out.
It's one year I graduated high school.
It was very bad. It was very bad. But I recommend it still.
I would tell people to watch this.
Still
as like
giving
a
it
good-
out.
Yeah.
Will this be the last movie pod you do because we forced you to watch this, Jared?
I liked that I could watch it for free on Tubi. It was
There we
there
go.
waiting
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
I just, I do understand why people like it has a cult following, I think, because of the look of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the small town nostalgia. I do think the town it's in, people go, that feels like my town.
Yeah.
I do think people remember going to a 4th of July parade in their hometown. It was kind of hokey and like weird. And I do think Uncle Sam just being the iconic look of Uncle Sam. Like red, white, and blue, you can't beat it. Like that as a look. Like
right.
everyone
You're the
is
straightest fashionista I've ever heard.
I love it.
It's gonna be like,
Just
yeah,
wear-
red shirt, blue hat. You got
Right.
it, kid.
the stars and stripes can't be beat.
You cannot be stars and stripes forever, baby.
Right.
Well, Jared, thank you for coming
Thank
on.
you so much for coming.
This was a blast.
I
I love that you have
appreciate it.
all the movie stuff out. This is like
Listen, we're doing it.
Something like a fucking
Schwitzing.
I didn't
dying.
even see this. This
Yeah.
feels very, like SNL sketch about a couple that started.
I
Well,
love
that's
that.
good. We were
Podcast
hoping for
together.
a successful podcast.
No,
but I'm-
I can see that coming
I'm
too.
glad
This looks
parody
like
of
a
sketch.
pile of shit.
This looks like a couple on their last. This looks like a man who's been broken down by the entertainment
Right.
industry and is throwing one
And
Hail
Sherry
Mary.
O'Terry.
Married couple starts podcast. What are we gonna do about horror movies? I think there's
Come for
something.
the movie, stay for the divorce.
Right, I want to see arguments had out on here about like the dishes.
Oh, well.
like I think there would be a nice turn if there was like a segment where
She
it's
always
like
thinks I don't do the dishes. I do dishes more than her.
You do the dishes, but you don't know how to load a dishwasher. And that
how do you load a dishwasher?
he puts things facing
See,
up
this
so
guy's
water
living like a
collects in
caveman.
it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Thank you,
can't.
Jared.
I did that like one
It's
time.
gotta be on the
One
side.
time, every single fucking
Every time.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. It was one time.
This is the best part of the podcast. I'm telling you. I can't believe I
asking
just
us
brought up the
questions, we'll fight.
dishwasher.
Well, we were
I
thinking-
can't believe I just made up a scenario and now it actually turned into an argument.
we
Like I
cut-
can't
we
believe that
cut-
actually happened.
We cut the last 10 minutes of the pod every week, which is just us eating dinner in silence. You hear the silverware like knocking against the plates really loud.
And then you just hear, we should watch It Too next week.
All right,
would-
Jared, where can we
Right.
find you?
Jared Freid on Instagram. Just go to my Instagram. It's all there. It's wherever DVDs are sold. I don't know what the fuck. Yeah. Go to Jared at Jared Freid. Yeah,
This man's been broken too. Ladies and gentlemen, two broken men and
A
one
really broken
peppy,
woman.
peppy
No,
broad.
one woman just down on her luck.
All
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you soon.
God bless America.